Well, it always never seems to fail that we got another national media dude that's taking a bit of a shot at the Cleveland Browns, and this time it's even worse. He's taking a shot at the Cleveland Browns fan base. When we come back, I'll talk about some of the biggest fan bases in all of sports, and if the Cleveland Browns are one of those biggest fan bases, and why are the Browns fans so loyal? We'll come back. We'll talk about it. We'll do it coming up next on this episode of The Ultimate Browns. Welcome to the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. It's your boy G. Bush on the Ultimate Browns. Want to wish everybody, hope everybody had a great, weekend. We're rapidly approaching training camp, and what we want to do is let you know that when you watch coming up on the Ultimate Browns, we're going to have a lot of great things coming up for you. We had two great blogs last week. We broke down the offense. We broke down the defense. This week, we're going to continue to do some of those things as well. And coming up later in the show, we will have 5 bold predictions from the AFC North, looking at those predictions as we get towards training camp, pre-training camp predictions for the AFC North. We'll talk about those as well, man. So we got this interesting story just happened about a day or so ago. There was a national story talking about, some of the best fan bases and some of the, teams who have the best fan bases. And usually, generally speaking, when we talk about fan bases, the Cleveland Browns don't necessarily get mentioned, in the top 3 or top 4. But generally speaking, the Cleveland Browns are somewhere in the top 10 when it comes to the metrics of the Cleveland Browns fan base, whether it's loyalty, whether it's how much we consume of the Cleveland Browns, how much we can talk about the Browns every single day. And it just so happens that we have a large contingency worldwide of the Browns backers. And let's not forget that the game of football was created in Northeast Ohio, my stomping grounds of Canton, Ohio. Pro Football Hall of Fame is there. So you have Jim Brown, you have Paul Brown, some of the pillars of football come from this great state of Ohio. And we have such a rich tradition. A lot of people forget because we have not had that success. The Browns moved away, obviously, as we know. But this comment, coming up here is from Chris Canty. He was a former Baltimore Raven, and sometimes I've talked about this before. There's a lot of times when you're in the national media, they ask you about certain things, but there's no way you can know about all the minutia of every 32 entire teams, right? Sometimes you're not informed of, the fan base, and you're not aware of exactly how much people feel about or feel a certain way about a particular team, especially if you're not from that area. But this one was egregious because for me, he came off, and so maybe he just wanted to have a contrarian point of view. And shout out to the individuals in this clip, because 2 of the individuals really said, no, we're not going to do that. Let's be clear. The Cleveland Browns got one of the best fan bases in the world. This clip is courtesy of Sports for CLE. I was on with those guys over there, and I was asked this same question on Friday, talking about some of the shots that it seems to be happening with the Cleveland Browns, and more importantly with the fan base. And I gotta always ask this main question: why does the national media consistently try to bully the Browns fan base? We'll come back and talk about that, but take a look at my comments and what Chris Canty said in terms of the Browns fan base.
A couple of weeks, Browns will be in training camp at the Greenbrier in West Virginia. This is from Michelle Smallman on ESPN's Unsportsmanlike Top 5 NFL Fan Bases. She goes, Jets 5, Bills 4, Packers 3, Eagles 2, Steelers 1. One of her co-hosts on the show, Evan Cohn, with his response to the top 5.
The Cleveland Browns fans are the single best fans in the entire league. There is no fan base that is better than the Cleveland Brown fan. The Cleveland Brown fan had their team removed from their city and still somehow supported the team, that when they came back, They were selling out every single game.
But if the fans were so good, then why did the team leave Cleveland?
Oh, no,
initially?
we're not going to do that because that doesn't have anything to do with it a lot of the time. It's about money. It's about greed.
Thank you.
But that wasn't the case the first time when the Browns left. That wasn't the case.
But, okay, so
that wasn't the situation.
Any way you cut it, though.
The Modells?
They come back. They go 1-31 over the course of 2 seasons. There are things that have happened with that franchise that you can't even fathom. The owner of the team claimed to get advice on who to draft from a homeless person on the side of the road. That is not a made-up story. That is true. They have had more quarterbacks than you can imagine. They have had more failed draft picks than you can imagine. They've made more bad moves than you can imagine. And this fan base is so loyal to that team. They show up to every game. They talk about it year-round on ESPN Cleveland, and they absolutely love their team in a way that I have never seen. I've never seen a fan base love one team more than they love the Cleveland Browns. And there is not, over the course of time, there is now, but there has not been a lot to love. And they still absolutely love them. They are, I've lived in New York the majority of my life. They are way better fans than the Jets fans. Way better fans.
With that, let's welcome in G. Bush from 92.3 The Fan, as well as the Barber Shop, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. G. Bush, that was Chris Canty. He played for the Ravens. He should know it was because Art Modell was a horrible businessman. It had nothing to do with the fans, everything to do with an owner that couldn't keep the finances in order.
Slow clap. Listen, that gentleman that gave that monologue right there. Listen, buy that man a beer. He got it. He understood what the task was. He did his homework. He didn't have no producer slide him notes last second. He understood what it was. Let me just be clear. Come on, Chris. You sound like you was hating there right there. Well, they took the team because the fans didn't support. Stop. You didn't do your homework. You rolled out of bed. You saw what the list was. And you were like, I'm going to just take a crap on the Browns. Stop playing around. I'm going to just say this. The Cleveland Browns, I'm going to go a different way on why the Cleveland Browns are the best fan base in the world. Because nowhere in the world are the Browns backers in all around this great globe as strong as the Browns backers are. I'm going to tell you what, I do internet radio, I do internet stuff. I'm not even famous, my man. And there are people in Iceland, people in the Philippines, people in Australia, people in New Zealand. One of our biggest fans is in India. He doesn't even watch football, but he is a diehard Browns fan because of what we do, the way we talk about them. It's not just a sport. It is part of our DNA. When the leaves turn, we are all in on Browns, and guess what? We do it year-round. By the way, do your research. You can't have a better fan base than saying that Cleveland started in Northeast Ohio is the home of pro football. You are all guests. You are guests to what we do here in the great state of Ohio. No shout out, no disrespect to Texas and Friday Night Lights and Florida and the athletes they produce, but football started here in Northeast Ohio, my home stomping grounds, the great city of Canton, Ohio. That is the cradle of football. You pay homage to that. And us as Browns fans, it is a travesty that we had our team taken. But what we've gone through past that and still show up at the community lots, still shows up at the tailgates, and here we go, Brownies. It rings out everywhere. Come on now. We're the number one fan base in the entire world. And I've told you, if we win the Super Bowl, and when we do win the Super Bowl, we will have simulcasted presidential parades all around the world at the same time with Browns backers united. Yeah, listen, I shout out to Sports for CLE. I was on there, and they got me fired up. You see what I was talking about. This is a thing to me. When you take a look at the biggest fan bases, right? Who has the biggest fan bases, right? If you take a look at it, you got the Dallas Cowboys. You have to mention those guys. You have to mention, they call themselves the America's team, right? You got to look at Tom Brady and Bill Belichick's 7 Super Bowls over there in New England. You have to look at the great San Francisco 49ers teams with Walsh, Montana, Steve Young, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott. Those guys over there, what they did in the 80s. The Steelers, the Steel Curtain, we hate them. We don't like them, but they dominated the 70s. They beat us up. They beat the Browns up. Oh, we already know that story all too well. The Chicago Bears, George Halas. You take a look at the Bears and their storied tradition. Guys like you could continue to move on, and you talk about the Green Bay Packers. Vince Lombardi, the trophy is named after him, right? You take a look at, some of those guys in the Packers organization and how the team, they got a setup over there with the ownership that I don't even know that the city or the county own the team. I don't even know how that even works. They're the only team I know that got that little setup over there, man. And you go through the names and some of these names of the individuals, and you can see that these are big time market teams. I mean, these teams are the creme de la creme. You could throw the Giants in there as well with a very large fan base that go all the way back to the merger. But let's be clear. You could take a look at all of those teams and they've won championships. I could give you an era where they either have an era they dominated or they had a multiple championship runs back to backs, or they had the greatest coaches, the greatest quarterback, the guys who revolutionized the game like Bill Walsh. We got the GOATs and Bill Belichick and Brady. You got the Steelers organization, which just had 3 coaches in the last 50 years or something crazy. All these teams, the Packers, all these teams have all of these things that they have. They've had times where they've dominated the news, they've dominated the hearts of the country, and they've been the most popular in the world. But there's also the Cleveland Browns. They are there. And think about how good of a fan base you got to be for you not to even have been to a Super Bowl, but you're mentioned in the top 10. The Kansas City Chiefs. They've won multiple championships. They just won back-to-back. They got Patrick Mahomes today, Andy Reid. They got the dynasty moving. They're in those conversations. But guess what? We ain't had a quarterback until now. And people still doubt and need to see what they need to see out of him. But we haven't had no coach of any note. We haven't had a quarterback in years. We haven't sniffed this Super Bowl. We haven't even been there. But it just goes to show you how strong the Browns fan base is if they can mention us. And we got Browns backers everywhere, and we consistently are in the conversation. I salute you out there, Philadelphia. You guys are rabid. You guys do that. But listen, ain't nobody got the team snatched, go 1-31, have a dumpster fire organization. We had a previous owner and the learners that cared more about soccer, the football of the world, than football in the United States. And we've had all kind of scandal. We've had all this stuff going on. We finally turned the corner. And you wouldn't even, you step foot in Northeast Ohio, you step foot in Cleveland, you wouldn't know that the Browns didn't win nothing. You know why? Because we still this passionate. We show up to every game. We gonna sell them joints out. We gonna be in the community lot. We gonna be around. We gonna wear our uniforms. Even if you want to clown us, we're still gonna continue to do it. And my question into the national media is this, man: find a new whipping boy. Find a new team to start picking on. Because all that bully stuff, we're not up for it no more. Really, I mean, because to be honest with you, when we come back, we're gonna talk about a little something. The Cleveland Browns, according to a lot of different people, could get this thing moving in a direction where the Browns could possibly see themselves in a Super Bowl. That defense is nothing to be played with. The offense got weapons everywhere. And once we figure out what we doing at the quarterback position and Deshaun Watson comes back and he's the old Deshaun Watson, the revamped Deshaun Watson, y'all ain't gonna have nothing to say. Just get used to it. Because I'm telling you that right now, the Browns got a roster good enough to do it. But Chris, come on, Chris, you know what you was talking about. I'm tired of the old montages, and this is why sometimes people talked about. We had a whole debate last week about which is better. Do you want Deshaun Watson to just win, or you want just win and don't got to worry about no numbers and just don't make no turnovers? No, this is the exact reason G. Bush don't ascribe to that. I'm not out here to just do things well enough to just be calm and good. I want revenge. I want for you. People ask me, why you want 5,000 yards for Deshaun Watson? Because I want him to throw for 5,000 yards for all the times that these dudes clowned us, for all the times they called us a dumpster fire, for all the times that the Pittsburgh Steelers ran it up on us on the last game of the year, for all the times that we didn't win the division. I want like Avon Barksdale, I want my corners. Maybe I'm just a gangster at heart. Marlo said it. They talk about it all the time. Hey, the crown, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And a lot of people gonna have a lot of action for you when you got the crown. And Marlo's famous line is, well, at least I wore it. No matter how short it was, no matter how short-lived it is, at least I wore the crown. And I want the crown. I want to see the Patriots take L's, and they're going to take them this year. I want to see the Baltimore Ravens have to lick their wounds with 4 wins. I want to see the Steelers have to tear it all the way down. Yeah, you go back into the draft and try to find you another quarterback from these stopgaps. That's what I want, and that is why I'm greedy. For every time they do this little stuff like this, put another touchdown on them. Put another sack on them. Put another tackle for loss on them. That's what I'm here for. Well, when we get back, we're going to talk about 5 bold predictions in the AFC North. This was a really article that I checked out the other day. Article that I checked out, and it had 5 bold predictions leading into training camp for the AFC North in 2024. We'll come back and talk about that. You're listening to The Ultimate Browns right here on the UCSS Network. My dream has always been to sit courtside at a Cavs playoff game. With Game Time, my dreams can become reality. Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest prices guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. What I love most about the Game Time app is that you get the views from all the seats in the venue. You know how sometimes you go, you look around, and you think you're getting good tickets and good seats, and then you just show up and you're like, whoa, I got like a whole pillar behind me. You don't have to worry with that with Game Time. Also, you got the lowest prices guarantee. They got event cancellation protection and job loss protection for the big ticket items. Man, take the guesswork out of buying the NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code Locked On, LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in the sports. It's G. Bush, right back here with the Ultimate Browns. We want to thank everybody for subscribing to the channel, making Ultimate Browns such a huge success. We want to encourage you as training camp comes along. Keep it locked. We got everything covered right here. One-stop shop. We got a video every single day about your Cleveland Browns, Ultimate Browns 7 days a week, so you already know what it is. Now, let's get to this right really quickly. There was an article that I really wanted to share with you guys, and I thought it was a really cool article. During this time of the season when training camp is coming up, there are people who come up with these lists that are very provocative, to say the least. This comes from the NFL Analysis Network. It says 5 bold predictions for the AFC North in 2024. It says the AFC North is in for an interesting year in what seems to be a dense of a division year over year as any league. It's as stacked as they come in the AFC North. However, it won't be without surprises. Here are 5 shots at predicting the unpredictable for the Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals, and the Baltimore Ravens. So let's take a look at and see which one of these bold predictions I agree with, I don't agree with, and if I can foresee any of these happening. Let's go look to the first one. Mike Tomlin's 500 record comes to an end thanks to Russell Wilson. Mike Tomlin has earned at least as many wins as losses every year since he took over the Steelers' head coach job in 2007. However, the 17-year streak comes to an end in 2024. You know what's crazy? That's wild. 17 years of being over 500 is ridiculous. That's wild. Even though I don't like the Steelers, that's something to behold a little bit. That's something to be impressed by. Just when fans think it could be the easiest road to an over 500 record since Ben Roethlisberger's retirement, Russell Wilson ends Tomlin's winning run. The way it happens is Wilson maintains the team around 500 all season long and plays just well enough to avoid getting benched. However, in a win and in scenario, he loses the game and falls under 500 at 8-9. This is really a good. I like what he did right here, because I think this is a very tricky year for the Steelers, to say the least. You brought two guys in, right? You bring Russell Wilson in, who is on the back part of his career. You bring another guy in, Justin Fields, who has a lot of upside, and you kick the tires on that to see if he's going to be a guy that can, really, really become a quarterback of the future for you. But when you look at Russell Wilson, I think he does play well enough. I even think that Russell Wilson would get off to a decent start. I think I can foresee them get off to about a 3-1 start, and then all of a sudden, people are saying, "Wow, look at this Steelers team. Steelers tied for first place, or the Steelers are right in contention." Russell Wilson's been playing great, hasn't turned the ball over, and then he hits a little bit of skid in the middle of the year. And that skid involves not pushing the ball downfield, holding on to the ball, and some turnovers, and they go on a 3 or 4 game losing streak. And now you're in the conundrum. Do we stay with him because he did have a hot start, or are we going to go to Justin Fields? To me, I think any way you cut it, they got to see what they got in Justin Fields this season. Unless Russell Wilson is playing at a borderline all-pro level, I think eventually he'll give way to Justin Fields, who will give the Steelers another wrinkle, another dynamic player that can really kind of lean on the run game, play action, and use his legs a little bit to extend play. So I think you will see him. But this is my vote of confidence on this. I think the Steelers are improved. I can see this happening. I say I give this a 60% chance of happening. 60%. All right, let's move right along. Number 2, Joe Burrow reestablishes Burrowhead. Patrick Mahomes will have spent nearly 3 years building towards winning the first three-peat in NFL history. However, the road to the big game runs through Cincinnati for the Chiefs as another bubble-level seed. Joe Burrow, armed with much less to lose than Mahomes, wins a tight playoff battle for the Bengals. After the game, one player makes a Burrowhead joke, a reference to Arrowhead Stadium, and the rivalry turns even more competitive heading into 2025. For me, I don't see this popping off. I think, he got his opportunity to do that, and they made those jokes about Burrowhead. I think that the Bengals, their main focus should be on saying, look, we got to get the highest seed that we can get. We're trying to survive the gauntlet in the AFC North, and we just want to see if Joe Burrow can stay healthy. They got T. Higgins, they got Chase, they got some good pieces and parts. I like the young running back they got. My problem with them, they lost DJ Reader. My problem with them as well is, there's a lot of guys asking for a bunch of money, and if you don't get off to a Hendrickson, if you don't get off to a really fast start, you may have some people that kind of turn into a little bit of a mutiny. But I do think the Bengals will be a borderline playoff team. I think they could make the playoffs, and I think they're one of the top 3 teams in the AFC North. For this confidence level that Joe Burrow reestablishes Burrowhead, I got to go lower than that. I got it about a 25% chance that goes down. Let's keep it pushing. This one is funny too. Deshaun Watson, your Deshaun Watson of the Cleveland Browns, wins the AFC North. After years of waiting, the Deshaun Watson trade finally returns a dividend. The Browns win their first division title since '89 per Pro Football Focus and Pro Football Reference. Suddenly, the quarterback's 5-1 run with the team in 2023 looks like the first steps towards a new era. Baker Mayfield, who has won the comparison in shades up at this point, gets dealt his big First big blow. So this one is the one we concentrate on. You know, when you look at this, you know, a lot of times we talk about it. You know, people say he hasn't played well. He hasn't played well. Now, all of a sudden, if they win the AFC North, now all of a sudden you look at it, he's 5-1 in record with the team in 2023. He builds on that. And if you're going to win the division, chances are, if you're winning the division, you're telling me you're winning what, 12 games? 12 games, 13 games if you win the division. So you say he wins, say you just win, say they win 13 games, right? You know, they're playing what, 18 games? They're 13. So they go 13 and 5. Right? 13 and 5 or somewhere around there. Now you got a record that he's playing right now. 18 plus wins right now that you have. 18 and what, about 6 or 7? All of a sudden his record looks a lot better. And by the way, if he wins the AFC North, not only does that put them in contention to they're going to have a first round playoff game, that means that they can be in contention for the number 1 overall seed. If they win the AFC North and you have the number 1 seed, that means Deshaun Watson probably put up some great numbers, roughly about 4,000 or so, low interceptions, no turnovers. And that means Deshaun Watson is probably in line to be a comeback player of the year, probably a Pro Bowler. So, you know, just by reading the tea leaves on this one, it's a lot of things that you can kind of read from this. And there's a lot of things that if you tell me at the end of this year that Deshaun Watson leads the Browns to the AFC North title, then I can tell you about 6 or 7 other good things that probably is going to happen in regards to that. What's my confidence level? Like I said before, I give all of the main players a decent chance. I got the Browns at a 25. Actually, I had them at 30. Let's be clear about that. I think I had them like, I think I had the everybody at 30, and then I gave the Steelers a 10% chance. 30 for the Bengals, 30 for the Browns, 30 for the Ravens, and then 10% for the 10% chance for the Steelers. So I'm gonna go with this. This is 30% chance of happening, which is nice odds for the Browns. Let's go to the next one. Lamar Jackson takes a step back. Lamar Jackson has won 2 MVPs for a reason. However, he also has come up short in the seasons as well. The 2024 campaign will serve as 1 year to forget for the Ravens. Quarterback Derrick Henry proves to be ineffective on his second team as age sets in the running back. As a result, Jackson becomes forced into serving as an engine of the offense once again. This time, however, defenses are ready for him after another offseason of preparation. Now, this one is something that I've been picking. I gave the Ravens just a second ago a 30% chance of winning the division. But if for any team that I could see that could possibly take a step back, it will be the Baltimore Ravens, just for the simple fact that they lose offensive linemen. Second of all, they lose Patrick Queen. Derrick Henry is up there in age. Lamar Jackson has not shown the ability to throw his team past, the first round of the playoffs. And they lose receivers as well. So besides Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, you lose Odell Beckham Jr., you lose a lot of guys. You got some guys coming back from injury. The running back who his name, I think it's Keaton Mitchell. He actually tore his ACL last year. So for me, the Baltimore Ravens are a team that have consistently been there. They've been consistently doing it, been consistently been able to do it under Harbaugh. But as we talked about earlier with Tomlin, it come a time when, you know what, really, to be truthful, you're going to have a bad year and you're going to take a couple injuries here, a couple injuries here. Can I see Lamar Jackson and Ravens taking a step back? Sure, I do. I think this is kind of high. I think this is a 50-50 chance. I don't think the Baltimore Ravens are going to be the 13 and 14 win Baltimore Ravens team. I just don't see it. I think this is a 50% chance this happens. And even if they take a step back, it's not saying that they won't win 9 games. It's not saying that they won't win 10. It's not saying that. But I do think they're being at the top of the food chain, there's a chance that they get knocked down in the pecking order of the AFC. And finally, TJ Watt breaks sack record at 11th hour. TJ Watt has quietly dominated in the last 2 seasons. Since the start of 2021, the Steelers edge rusher has logged at least 18 sacks twice. He brushed up against Michael Strahan's record before. However, this time he smashes it, earning 24 sacks in 3 coming in the last game of the year. Detractors note that the 17 games Watt had to do it and compared to Strahan 16, but the NFL still touts the accomplishments as history anyway. I don't think he's going to do this. People forget TJ Watt came off of a major injury at the end of the year. I think he'll get his 16. I think he'll maybe even get 17. To break the record is very difficult at 24. I think that his wear and tear is starting to, show a little bit. Tremendous player. Not hating on him at all. He's always uber. His motor just never stops. He's just super talented. When you look at him. So for me, I just don't think coming off an injury that I could just claim that he's going to be break the sack record. Does he have the talent level to do it? Yes. Do I think he will? No. Chance of this happening, I'll give it maybe 10% chance. 10% chance. He'll be in double digits, but it'll be 10%. So that was an interesting little list. I enjoyed that. I actually think it was spot on from some of it, and I think it hit the nail on the head with some of the things that could possibly happen in a very competitive AFC North. When we get back, we go to another clip. I was on Sports for CLE, and a fan left a message, and the fan left a message about the Cleveland Browns, and he seemed kind of distraught. And I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. When you hear it, you kind of hear the guy, just being down in the dumps. And my question to you is, with all of the losing and all the piling on the national media does and all of the missteps the organization is made over the years, do you think the fans are too jaded to really understand and see that the Browns have turned the corner and to be able to enjoy the fruits of the Browns actually becoming a competitor? We'll come back and talk about that. It's G. Bush right here on the Ultimate Browns. Shout out to the UCSS network. We just don't give you the Browns content over here. We do everything big in Cleveland. Shout out to Zach Myers on Adam the Bull, Ultimate Guardians. You can catch that every single week. I think they're up to 2 episodes a week over here on the UCSS network. Make sure you check out Summer League is in full swing. My man Imani Bates put up 20 the other day, but Cavs took an L. Let's see if they can get back on track coming up here over the next couple days. Leave it to Jason Lloyd and Mikey McNuggets to lead you through everything in the offseason for the Cavaliers. Earl the Pearl just had him on the Ultimate Brown on the show a couple days ago. Make sure you check out my man Earl the Pearl. It's a mix between sports and culture. Got his ear to the streets as always. And then it's me. You know what it is. You see what I mean. The most consistent, the most electrifying, the barbershop man himself. Keep the clippers on him every single day. We're going to drop a video. You can catch that. If you missed the first one of the week, we're going to have it where you can catch up on that. That's the Ultimate Browns. And you know what we do. We do it preferably right here on the UCSS network. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. It's your boy G. Bush. I had an opportunity to be on Sports for CLE, and they take voicemails and mail questions for us over there, and sometimes I get the chance to opine on this, and this one really got me to thinking about certain things, though. We take a phone call from one of the callers, and he seemed to be very down on the Browns, and I just didn't understand why. You come off a season where you had 5 different quarterbacks. You made the playoffs. You are a team that has the Coach of the Year twice. You got the Defensive Player of the Year award. You got the Assistant of the Year award. And, you had a really good feel-good story last year, even though we had a bunch of injuries. But it seemed to be like he kind of was down in the dumps, and he wasn't really up on the improvements that the Browns have been making. And as you listen to this, my question is, sometimes are the fans to a point where you're just used to saying that the Browns are bad, or you're just so jaded and beat down from the losing and all of the different things that have gone on that you really can't smell the flowers when you actually come to age and you actually get to a place where you can actually see the dividends paying, paying dividends for you. Let's take a look at this. This clip is courtesy of Sports for CLE.
Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Good morning, gents. This is Jim from Rochester. I just wanted to make a comment. I know that on your show yesterday, they said something about Rochester. Rochester, New York is a great town to live in. The majority of us are baby boomers, and that's why we root for the Browns. And that's why we're so disgusted, because not much time left on the planet for most of us, and the Browns don't seem to be concerned about giving us a good product. And that's the one thing that bothers me, and that's what's frustrating. I just wanted to go on record as saying that. So that's why you hear from us so much. And I'm glad that a few other people are finally starting to call, because it's frustrating, guys. Hey, have a good one. Have a nice weekend. Bye.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. So, G. Bush, just so you're up to speed, Jim has called in just kind of critical of some of the things. He wants a little bit more fire from the head coach and the like. I get it. You know, I know a lot of people from Rochester, Jim. I went to school at John Carroll with a number of them. Some of my best friends grew up in Rochester. I get that guys of that generation are frustrated, but I would tell you this front office and this organization is headed in the right direction. You can't look at it. The game is changing quickly. And the problem with the Browns, they've always been chasing it. You know, they let Marty Schottenheimer go. They were trying to find the next Marty Schottenheimer. Well, Bill Cowher got away from them. So they're trying to find the next Bill Cowher. They're finally ahead of it. You can't be something you're not. And that's the one thing Kevin Stefanski understands. And that's why you can argue it. That locker room responds to him without question.
And, you know, I've been critical at times about Kevin Stefanski. But, you know, sometimes when you're presented with new information as humans, go ahead and take that information, log it away, and give yourself the grace to change your mind on certain situations. When you look at Kevin Stefanski, one thing that you can say about him is guys play hard for him. Guys are going to run through that brick wall for him. Guys respond to him. The David Njoku's of the world speak highly of him. You take a look at Joe Batonio's and the Wyatt Tellers and the guys like Nick Chubb and all those guys out there, Myles Garrett. They speak highly of Kevin Stefanski. And here's the thing I'll give Kevin Stefanski credit for. How many coaches would have stood there in front of the firing squad and said, you know, when he was asked to make the deal to say, all right, let's go ahead and go in a different direction from our offensive coordinator, right? Well, how many times, you being the coach of the year, you can say, well, look, Alex Van Pelt was with me every single year that I was coach of the year. That would denote that we're doing something right. I've been able to pick a Schwartz, and have the best assistant coach. I was able to have Myles Garrett Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, I'm doing some things right, but he took enough look at it. They presented him the numbers, and he did what's best, what he thought was for the Cleveland Browns, and he moved on. He said, "Bring in Dorsey." Bring in a guy that wants to throw the ball more vertical. Let's go and get some more assistant coaches, right, that are going to bring a different feel, a different vibe, a different perspective. And so he brings those guys in. There's a lot of people that say, man, I'm not bringing in nothing. Like, I'm the coach of the year. I should get an opportunity to have who I want on the staff have it on there. I'll give it to him. The Cleveland Browns took a lot of heat for bringing in a guy like Deshaun Watson, right? The Cleveland Browns could have said, you know what, Nick Chubb, we like what you're doing. The cap hit is much too big. We're going to move on from you, right? They could have done a lot of things, but the Cleveland Browns have stayed pat. And I will tell you, all those people in Rochester, all the baby boomers, I promise you this. The Cleveland Browns are turning the corner, and the Cleveland Browns are going to be Super Bowl caliber contenders for the next couple of years. We all lived through it a little bit in the past, but guess what? Trust me, the next couple of years, I think they're going to be special. And shout out to Sports for CLE. Make sure you guys go check those guys out over there. I'm usually on those episodes on Friday. They have me on there, and I appreciate them as always. But when you look and you hear those conversations, you hear what I just talked about right there. It's kind of tough. It's very tough because, you got something where You know, I think fans have, for a long period of time, they've just been losing so much. And it's almost like they don't see, like, when you could kind of see my face a little bit, like, when he was talking after he posed the question, I was puzzled. I'm like, what is he talking about? What do you mean they ain't trying to field the team? And they just so disappointed because the Browns don't seem like they interested in putting a team on. I said, bro, did you like, is this call from 2020? Is this from 2019? Like, I'm like, you can't have watched the Browns last year and said they're not trying to win. Heck, they could have mailed it in last year. They could have been like, you know what? We ain't got a quarterback. Deshaun Watson is out. Nick Chubb is out. All our tackles are out. We're going to mail it in. But then you had Joe Flacco come in and give you a magical stretch run that gets you into the playoffs. And, you know, I look at it and I'm like, man, that just, it hit me. Are we too jaded? Is the fan base at this point so much bad stuff has happened? Is it almost like I'm not going to be able to enjoy the ride unless the Super Bowl happens and we win, then I'll believe it. It's almost like one of those things that kind of happened with the Cavs. It was like the Cavs were, you know, they would always get into the finals and then would get to the Golden State Warriors, right? And it was like everybody would be like, it doesn't matter what you do in the playoffs. It doesn't matter about the regular season. Everything is up to 7 games against the Golden State Warriors, and then we will rejoice. But for the people that had to wait to see the championship, to wait to come back from 3-1, y'all missed a whole lot. Man, y'all missed a lot, man. I've had an opportunity, you know, on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, we talked to Channing Frye. We talked to some of those guys, Richard Jefferson. One of the greatest things in the world was to see Kyrie Irving and LeBron James play at a high level, where they said you couldn't play. You can't have 2 ISO guys that can win a championship. Man, they surrounded the Cavs with them shooters, and it was like, pick your poison. You can't cover LeBron or Kyrie one-on-one. And if you double, we kicking. And then they had Channing Frye. They had J.R. Smith. They had Kyle Korver. Even Iman Shumpert was knocking them down. Kevin Love was knocking. You could not leave them alone. And guess what? When they came back from 3-1, it was so much more beautiful because I was there the whole ride. The people that was invested in every single game, the journey was more beautiful. I don't want that to happen to the Browns fans. Enjoy the journey, because I'm going to tell you what, the journey of getting to where we need to be, it starts now. I want to enjoy them Cowboys wins in the first part of the season. I want to enjoy that game that we go up to Philly. I want to enjoy all of these dubs, right? I want to see that game against Patrick Mahomes at the end of the year. So my message to everybody out there is, look, we understand that the Browns have been bad in the past, but lock in. If we all lock in, we can make this a special year. And that's all I'm trying to say as training camp draws near. Everybody, let's lock in. Let's lock in, man. You see how special it was last year when we had a whole city behind the team and we was locked and loaded and ready to go week in and week out. We had one of the best home field advantages in the entire league. As training camp nears, let's put all this other stuff aside. Let's lock in and get ready for a great 2024. With that being said, you know what? I'm everywhere. Internet, Clippers. I'm on TV with the Clippers. I'm in the chat rooms with the Clippers. And you know what I do, man. I keep them with me. So if you need that cut, if you need that fresh cut on sports, you always know where G. Bush is. Just always listen for the Clippers. Have a great evening and go Browns.